Well, I'm Angie Gaebler with STRATA Architecture. STRATA's been working with the city here on this building since about 1991 in a lot of different capacities. We've done a lot of preservation consulting, architectural consulting through the years, remodeling projects, repair projects. And this is a very exciting opportunity for us. Several years ago, we did an assessment and feasibility study for the building and looked at the building holistically, everything from the roof down, looking at mechanical, electrical, plumbing, masonry. We did programming with the city about how to use the building and looked at a lot of different options. And then we broke it out into kind of priorities. So we had, immediate type of work, short term, and then long term. We were able to work with the city to help write this Save America's Treasures grant, which is, an amazing grant to be able to get. It's a national grant. They're highly competitive. Very difficult to get. So we worked with the city to help write a grant that was focused solely on doing some structural repairs. As you may know, we closed the Hall of Springs about a year ago because of some continued deterioration on the underside of the slab and the columns in the basement. So we're focusing mostly for this project on doing the structural repairs. Unfortunately, doing those repairs means we're also going to be touching some historic finishes in the building. And the historic finishes include a big section of the water bar, the terrazzo flooring, tile flooring, kitchen equipment that's inside the bar area, the lighting, cabinetry, and some of those types of things that are associated with the water bar. Because we haven't had access to the underside of the slab to sound it closely because of, it's 3 stories up in the air. Once we've got the contractor on board, we'll be able to understand a little bit more about the extent of the required repairs. So some of them may be through depth slab repairs, meaning we'll be all the way through the floor, and others may be partial depth. And then, once we know a little bit more on that, then we'll be able to determine how much demolition we actually have to do upstairs. We have a lot of specialty contractors, interested in working on this project. We'll have everything from concrete repair specialists, terrazzo flooring, kitchen equipment, plumbing, electrical, tile, and then masonry specialists to do some work on the outside as well. So anyway, we're hoping that we can get all of this work done within the confines of this grant. The grant is sponsored by the National Trust for Historic Preservation and then overseen by the National Park Service. So all of the work that we do will be looked at very closely and scrutinized by the National Park Service to make certain that our work meets the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. Meaning we're here to take care of this building and to preserve as much of the original historic fabric that's here. So like I said, the assessment and feasibility study identified several years ago about $15.5 million worth of work to be done. And you can imagine that escalates every year, right? So every year we don't do work, we're seeing escalation now anywhere from 4 to 6.5% a year. Yes, we have a lot more work to do in this building. Number one, boilers is a huge issue that need to be replaced here. So looking at the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems associated with that, continuing to do hazardous material remediation, window replacement in here. So once we've got a new HVAC system in place, we'll be able to replace windows in the building, hopefully get something that's energy efficient and appropriate for this historic building. The windows that are in here right now were replaced in, I think, the 1970s, and a lot of window units, have been installed through the windows for air conditioning over the years. So we'll be removing all of that. So that next phase will probably focus on MEP and then hopefully the shell of the building to do masonry restoration, window replacement, roofing. There's still some areas of roofing that need to be replaced. They did a couple sections 2 years ago. But they are experiencing roof leaks right now over the Hall of Waters, or the Hall of Springs. So we want to make certain that gets addressed pretty quickly. Lots of interior finish work to happen, electrical upgrades, a lot of work outside, and then the north terrace out here. We have the well room below. That has a lot of concrete deterioration and serious structural issues with that. So that courtyard's been closed now for a couple of years from being able to have public events. So that'll be another project that we'll be able to bite off if we get some additional funding. So one of the really wonderful things about being able to get the Save America's Treasures grant, this building was listed by the National Trust on one of the top, most endangered buildings in the United States a couple of years ago. And that gave it a lot of really good public presence on a national level. While this is really important to the community, it's also a super unique building. Built in 1937 as a WPA project, it is probably one of the largest, most expensive public works projects of that time, specifically for a city. This had the bathhouses, the women's and men's spa sections, plus the pool, and bringing in 10 different spring waters into the building and being able to come in on tap and try those different spring waters was a super unique feature that no other building like this it exists in the world. So being able to bring those features back and have tourists and people from the community have pride to be able to show this off again would be is really the ultimate goal. I would just say support your city staff. They have a lot of really good ideas and plans for this building. There's been a lot of effort for many years to save this building, and unfortunately picking away at small projects, you're just chasing after repair and maintenance projects on a building that really needs an overall rehab. So the small projects seem like you're starting to make progress, but really a big project is what needs to happen here coming up in order to address a lot of these really major issues.